This is Zettelcast, brought to you by readers, writers, thinkers, and teachers from LiLLiPub, along with our partners in thought, our Zettelcastans. In this show, we share discoveries that our Zettelcastans have shown us.
There you go.
And compare notes on how we're using this marvelous invention in our creative work. Thank you for joining us.
All right, Book. Let's do it again.
All right.
Episode 70, Schrödinger's Zettelcat.
So, welcome everyone to the Zettelcast episode number 70. I'm Victoria Crowder, the author of Zettelcastin for Fiction Writers, which is coming soon, I promise. It's in print, it's coming. And I've invited my esteemed guests to join me on a little bit of a physics adventure. So, let me tell you where our question came from today. I'm forecasting out some new ways of teaching writing theory, and anyone who knows me knows that's a little bit of a rub with me, that the theory of good fiction writing hasn't really evolved in like my lifetime. So one of the things I want to do is bring fresh perspectives and fresh eyes to the craft of writing fiction and get a conversation going about what other areas of our lives can we pull things from that can inform and color the way that we write fiction. So that's our focus for today. Let me pull up our question where I asked this. Let's get physical. Let's look at how the concepts of a phase relationship, which includes superposition, entanglement, and interference, and decoherence, determine the options for a character and a story, and how the writer and the reader are affected by these relationships in the text. And I've asked everyone to bring between 1 and 3 note cards for a character, either one they've already written or just an idea for a new character, and or a story. And it can be a plot beat, a plot point, a story idea. I left the parameters wide open so we would hopefully get a wide array of options to choose from. But first, let me just break this down a little bit. No, we're not going to be doing algebra. We're not going to be drawing equations on the big board. But I'm very interested in how one grows the skill of developing both a character and a storyline. And I've always loved the concept of decoherence, which sounds way fancier than it is. Let's just say that you have a set of operators over here, and that's kind of a static relationship that exists, okay? So that could be a character, it could be a story, it could be story elements, whatever those things are that are the principles you're starting with when you begin writing a story. Then in the middle, you have the interaction with the environment, with the other characters, with concepts like theme or storyline. You have all the things that happen to something that was stable that then sets it off in a different direction. What comes out on the other side of that, that's decoherence. It's just the results of all of the changes or the things that you've introduced into the story. So that's what we're going to play with today. We're going to take some characters and story elements, we're going to throw them in the blender and see what we come up with. So, as we go through this, I lovingly refer to it as Schrödinger's Zettelcat, because at this point the cat could be dead or alive. We don't know. We're going to find out. But keep in mind, as we go through these exercises, 2 things. I want you to consider, how are the things that happen in the middle, those entanglements or interferences that we're introducing, how do they affect the writer? Because as you make choices, you're thinking, okay, wait a minute, if I do that, I'm not sure what that's going to do to my story. So the choices that you're making affect you. They also affect your reader, because as authors, our main goal is to give that reader a great story experience, take them through the perceptions and the possibilities, and they're thinking, ooh, maybe this is going to happen. It's a cliffhanger. I don't know. So your reader's taking this journey, and then your job, hopefully, as a good author, is to land them with a satisfying experience on the other side of all that decoherence and the things that came about. So keep in mind, as we're going through the exercise, how does it affect the writer in terms of decisions and ideas? And how does it affect the reader and their perception of the journey of the story? So with that long preamble out of the way, does anybody have a card that they want to throw out as either something that's an established idea or maybe an idea that you're toying with?
I don't have a card. I got the story.
Okay. Oh, yes. I knew it. I knew you'd come through.
Well, you tell me. Okay, here we go. He was rushing toward her, dreads flying wildly in his wake, arms barely able to contain his joy. Then time dilates into a glistening vertical sheet of possibilities spread out before him. His face, right foot, left hand, and forearm are passing through the sheet while the rest of his body remains behind the time membrane. Color rays, kaleidoscope from his eyes. He's the exponent now, over and above, yet not actually floating, elevated, determining the small number that will define whether this moment squares, cubes, or expands into dimensions he can't even name yet. Paths spread out before him like light through a prism of funhouse mirrors, each echoing out into the future, 3D style. They wait like books on a shelf, each front cover angled to project a half-inch preview. Dozens of them, maybe more. His eyes scan left to right. Most melt immediately upon gaining his focus. One gives him only a whiff of his father's whiskey breath and is gone. Another shows a single tear from his sister's falling, reflecting from his sister, a single tear from his sister falling, reflecting a rainbow of confusion, and it dissolves. Still another shows just the slightest glimpse of a sneaker loved beyond donation eligibility, fading, gone. That ghost of who he was, but some remain solid. One projects the smell of his childhood Sunday pancakes, warm, sweet, safe. This would be a Gigi who would offer her comfort, the gentle version of transformation. Another delivers sound, an instance of his own totally uninhibited, championship-acknowledged laughter. A Gigi who would share pure joy with her, uncomplicated. In still another, he sees vanquished bullies, all of the ones who'd been after him as a child, all of the ones he'd faced. This path would yield a Gigi who would stand with her as an equal, no pedestals, no worship. Each path would deliver a slightly different version of the transformed Gigi. Rosie waits at the end of each one. The same Rosie, wide-eyed in anticipation. She's the constant, the stable endpoint across all possibilities. It's which Gigi will arrive that hangs in quantum suspension. He lives a few seconds in each remaining path, feeling the why of each possibility. The pancake Gigi, who offers safety, the laughter Gigi, who shares freedom, the vanquished bully Gigi, who offers partnership. Then one path glows brighter than the rest. He and Rosie, decades into the future, sitting on their front porch watching the sunset. Their faces a testament of well-lived lives of love, growth, and community. This is his vibrating alarm clock tumbles off the nightstand, slamming the hardwood floor. Now awake in bed, alone, heart pounding. The sheet is just a sheet. The paths are gone. But this time he knows he has to find her today. For real. Yes.
You pulled a fast one.
Wow.
Kathleen and I both went.
Wow.
Okay, we could literally spend the whole episode just talking about this, because this, my friend, is a brilliant representation of exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So let's just unpack a couple of components. First of all, the first note that I made was, what if, because of what you're describing, at least what we think you're describing, is his successful attempt at moving through the membrane. And we get to go with him and experience all of these paths and possibilities. The first note that I made was, what if his attempt at getting through the membrane fails? All right, so that would be one way that you could throw something else at the beginning, that maybe there's an attempt, so an action and a reaction, and then he gets through. However, in this beautifully orchestrated scenario, we get to the alarm clock, which is like, what? Plot twist. So yeah, that is exactly the kind of playing around with the possibilities that will get you to the very best version of what that character needs to do and what needs to happen in the story. So yeah, I mean, game over, we're done. See, goodbye, guys.
Yep.
See you next week.
Oh man, so good, so good. So let's look secondly, independent of the ways that you could change it up, which I love the alarm clock, by the way, that was beautiful. Did not see that coming. The symbols, the motifs that you pack in. So you give us a hint, which this is so craftily done. You give us a hint when you talk about the prism that reveals all of the paths. So there's a little bit of foreshadowing there that things may not be what they seem with this story, but you don't lock us into that. So it's just kind of back there, but we're not locked into there's a twist or a surprise coming. And then you give us all of these things that tell us that things are not what they seem. But the thing is, we trust you as the narrator, so we don't question you. The funhouse mirror, the books on the shelf, which again are endless possibilities. Each one of these symbols as a motif has its own meaning. And you're stacking them up, dude. You're telling us what's coming, but we still trust you. And then you give us the memory. So which memory image is the one that is going to be the path that makes it over to the other side? Again, we don't know until you grab us by the heart, sister, and she's the thing at the end. And then we know, okay, we know how this story is going to go, and we can follow the narrative. We know that all of the uncertainty's been stripped away, again, because we trust you as the narrator. And the narrative distance is so close, we feel like you're telling us straight out, he's just making these discoveries and using the symbolism and the imagery as a way to make it even better. So when we land, we get that payoff. And then, au contraire, you ask, which one of him will arrive? So again, you're telling us the whole way that you're going to hose us with a twist, and we still don't believe you because we trust you. All of those things, all of those variations, all of those images and motifs stack up perfectly so that the twist, the alarm clock, lands absolutely beautifully. So yeah, we're done.
Right. Yeah. Talk about Schrödinger's Zettelcat.
For real.
He left off the bureau and did flip-flops on the way down.
Yeah, that was fantastically done. I gotta say, kudos to you, my friend. That was absolutely perfect.
Okay.
Now, if I were going to, let's just pretend that this was an early chapter or maybe an early section of a chapter that sets up things that are to come later in a novel. You've got so much richness here to play with just in the symbols. Between the books and the mirrors and the prisms, all of the little symbols that you sprinkle through, every one of those things are things that could be threads that show up throughout the narrative that help guide your reader through his journey. So lots of fantastic stuff here. And then as the writer, this is where you get to tell us, as you spun this long yarn, did you consider, did it flow creatively and just come out naturally as you saw it in your head? Or did you stack up things in a zero draft or some kind of notes or pre-writing that you kind of knew how you wanted to do this? Did you do planning ahead or did you just let it unravel? How did it affect you?
I first went on a little research tour.
Okay.
Trying to figure out superposition, huh? Okay, quantum.
Cool.
Okay, quantum narration. Oh, okay. What, what are all these things? Let me get this definition squared away in my head. Before I try to answer this assignment.
Yeah.
What am? Okay. All right. So all right. So let me. All right. So that's where it started. Not me writing notes of definitions down.
Cool.
And then thinking, okay, what do I know about Gigi so far? What's the last thing that he did? Oh yeah, he was running toward Rosie 2M's. And then I remembered, what was it? Quantum Leap? that TV program and so I said, okay, so he's running and it goes
Yeah.
and so time dilated.
Yeah.
And you get the sheet and the rest of it just kind of flowed.
Cool.
Wow.
I love it. That's,
Wow.
again, perfectly illustrating the point. I was going to caution the group against going too far down a rabbit hole because we were going to unpack it here anyway. But then I thought, we're book nerds. Just let them do what they want to do. And that's what I was hoping, is that you would see just a little bit of the concepts if you weren't familiar with them. Because the whole idea is, when you're trying to drive through a narrative, especially if you're getting stuck or like you're hitting something and you don't know where to go look up something totally unrelated and weird, like quantum physics or cooking with Jello. I mean, just look up anything that draws your attention, lean into a weird fascination and see, is there a way that I can apply that to the problem I'm trying to solve? Because more often than not, if you put that stuff in the noodle and let it bake a little, your brain's going to come up with a way that you can use that thing as a way through. So, and then to bring it back to television, beautiful, because often something has been done in a story that you'll remember, ooh, hey, I remember something about this, and it gives you that visual or that through line. So bravo.
Fabulous.
Who wants to follow that?
All right.
I'll break the ice. Here's how I approached it. You gave me all these physics terms, and I knew what they mean in physics. And I was saying, what in heck does that have to do with writing? Oh, good. I just have to find some cards. Great. I'm done. I got some cards.
Perfect.
So I pulled
Perfect.
them out.
Okay.
Just to bring up a little contrast there. approach.
Perfect. So, what are you going to do with Schrödinger's Zettelcat?
Well, see, I'm counting on you to tell me how Schrödinger's Zettelcat fits in with this because I just brought up three little snippets from the Jonathan
Okay.
story. These are three story cards. I've got some character cards too, but these are three little snippets. I'm going to read the
Okay.
longest one, read them in the longest, middle, shortest, because this it's spread out across a few cards. And these go back to, this one goes back to 2021, December 20th of 2021. And then the others are from 2023. So they're kind of spread out. Okay, this is the girl with the soft brown curls. Jonathan looked up from his perch to see a tangle of soft brown curls hovering over a large tote bag. The curls shifted, and a face looked first at Jonathan, startled, and then quickly shifted to look at Jonathan's mom. Dr. Marston? The girl inquired. Jonathan slipped off the ledge he had been sitting on and ambled down the hallway toward the end where it opened out into a mostly circular space known as the gathering pod. No one was gathering at the moment, so Jonathan simply enjoyed the campus vista that all the windows spread around the walls of the pod provided. He was looking for birds, but there weren't many to observe. Just a couple of crows eating whatever was left in that white sack. How could they do that? He exclaimed to himself. Not the crows, the people. How could they just toss a bag on the ground like that? He heard footsteps and turned around. It was the girl with the brown curls. You must be Jonathan. I'm Lisa. Your mom's free now. Jonathan remembered his manners in time to stop him from just staring at her. Thank you, Lisa. I'm Jonathan. Boy, did he feel stupid. She just said, you must be Jonathan. That made him feel so dumb that he couldn't think of another thing to say. But Sarah said, oh, thanks. I was kind of feeling stupid for assuming you were the Jonathan. They both giggled, but neither could think of anything else to say. So Jonathan felt relieved when she gave a little wave and said, see ya, and took off around the corner. So then that was just a random exchange of Jonathan's mom is a college professor, and he gets stuck spending a lot of time on campus. And he had been sitting on a wide shelf in her office, which was his favorite spot to perch. Okay, this one is between his maternal grandparents who are estranged from Jonathan's mother. And Jonathan has been left to stay for the summer with these people. And so here we go with a conversation between them. Edwin, you can't be passing off your willfulness as something Jonathan should imitate. Why not? It's the reason I published 6 books and 52 articles. Yeah, it's the reason my students love my classes. They never know where they're going to go. And it's the reason you were passed over for department chair 4 times. I wouldn't have wanted to do all that administrative work anyway. And if you don't get that 7th book written pretty soon, the publisher is going to withdraw the advance they've paid you, and we don't have it to give back. So that's just another, and then this last one is real short. Roberta. Roberta knew she should have mentioned the 10-day quilting retreat and that she and 2 other participants planned to shop hop all the way back home. She would be away for 2 full weeks, and she knew that Edwin didn't take much to children. So.
All right. Okay. Let's start. We'll start with the first one. So the thing, if in the first example and the second example, you've got really nicely developed dialogue. So you're mainly making your revelations to the reader through dialogue. So this is a perfect example of where you look at what you have in the piece, and then you see, how can I make it interact differently with the environment to get different decoherence on the other side? Like, what can I throw in the middle to change it so that I can either discover something different as the writer? Maybe I want to find a different path through the scene, or I can reveal something different to the reader and I'm just not sure what I want to grab onto for the scene. So you're kind of milling those ideas around as you're looking at what you have to work with. So in the first example, the first thing that I thought is, since we're experiencing this meeting in the empty pod and Jonathan's looking for the birds. So that's a quiet introspective moment. What if, instead of jumping right into the dialogue, the thing that you introduce as the variation is the young woman observes him, and we get a little bit of her perspective of, maybe she feels sorry for him because he's left alone. Maybe she feels, and this is where you're just gaming through those emotions as a viewer. Maybe she feels endeared to him because here's this sweet kid and he's just having this quiet moment of observation. So she's observing him, observing the birds that aren't there. So see how you're moving between the points of view, trying to make a decision about, what do I really want to reveal to my reader here? Or do I want to introduce something that's totally non sequitur that I can pick that thread up someplace later? Like maybe she has a judgmental thought about his mother leaving this poor kid on his own for these long stretches of time in a university. That's a kind of tension thread that could be picked up between them later. And then you start thinking, well, what if that young woman somehow makes a comment or schools the mother in some way? So it's taking the power dynamic of the two of them and flipping it. So you've got a million different ways that you can unpack, what do I want to introduce in the middle as some interference with what I have? And how does that come out of the grinder on the other side? So this is exactly the same way that we workshopped our experience collection. So you take the thing that you've observed, you throw it into the experience blender. Maybe you throw in some tension or an observation or a snarky comment or an introspection or a memory. Whatever you throw in with it, then you jot out that scene and how it comes out differently. And then now you've got two lenses that are looking at the same moment. And then you get to stand back as the overlord and say, okay, now, which pieces do I want to pull through? Maybe I'm going to let go of her being judgmental, and instead, this is going to become a memorable moment where she is just observing the sweetness of him, because what you want to convey to your reader is, this is not an adversarial, high conflict, high stakes story. This is more of a quiet moment in the story, and that's the thread that you pull through. So it's entirely up to you to decide which one you're going to tug on, but giving yourself a couple of different lenses of looking at the same scene, especially if you're stuck, is a great way to pull that through and figure out, what do I want to weave in here? And then, like with Deb's piece, if the observation of the birds and the comment about how can people be that way becomes a theme that you want to anchor as a point that you pull that through, you're telling us without telling us that he's very conscientious, and he not only observes, but he processes what he's observing. And in making this comment about humanity and how can people be that way, that's a fantastic theme to pull through, especially for young readers and a young leading character. So lots of rich stuff in there, and we're only on the first one. So how does that in your mind, what do you feel is the strongest sentiment or the strongest theme to pull through? Or is that something that you want to chew on and process through?
Well, I want him to bump into her from time to time, enough that
Ooh,
they finally, get to kind of know each other, because he's going to get stuck in a spot where all the adults that should be watching out for him are elsewhere, and he's in a pickle.
yeah,
And
yeah.
he's he is going to end up reaching out to her. He can't reach
That,
any of the grown-ups. Um,
yeah.
but at some point in time, she's going to give him her number, because his mother is rather irresponsible. So she didn't show up for her office hours, and this gal really, really needs her. So she gives Jonathan her text number so he can text her when his mom's free. And that's
Oh,
how
and
he
the
ends
plot
up with
thickens.
her. And he doesn't have anything to write it on, so he writes it in the front cover of the book he's reading. Of course, he happens to have the book with him when he's staying with his grandparents, so that's how he has the number.
Oh, excellent. Excellent. Yes, I love that. I love that. And she provides the role that allows you to have all kinds of indirect characterization, because whatever she's thinking about him is what you're sharing with the reader. So again, bravo. Um, for the second one, I would go through almost exactly the same exercise, since it's also a dialogue exercise that reveals a whole lot about Roberta, by the way. But insert something other than dialogue into the scene. If you're at a point where you're not sure how it's going to be used or what you're going to do with it, do the same game. Look at things like symbols or themes or other ways of looking at that interaction. And you can throw a crazy plot beat in there. Like, what if in this conversation, she makes a random comment and he gets angry and storms out? What if she makes a random comment and he laughs, and all of a sudden they have this shared moment, which is kind of weird, while she's browbeating him? You can play with that dynamic based on what you introduce and how
Ah,
they each react. Like, it could go either way.
okay, very good.
And then the same with the third one. Since that's more of an idea snippet,
Mm-hmm.
making the comment about not liking children. Oh yeah, you can do all kinds of stuff with that.
Yeah, that actually chronologically came before the one I read them out of order. The dialogue is after was
Yeah.
already there. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to not use what I know about
Yeah.
what I know about the story. I'm trying to be blank. Oh, fantastic. Fantastic. All right. Who else?
Well, I'll go. All of my cards are more notes rather than
Okay.
actual written out snippets. So stepping away from the Roanoke story to go back to my fairy story, West Virginia fairy story that I've read a scene from a while ago. So the main character is Bartholomew, who goes by Barry. He hates his name. And he's an 11-year-old boy living in Wheeling, West Virginia. He's essentially an orphan because his mother disappeared when he was infant. He was an infant. She's presumed dead, but nobody knows what happened to her. And he lives with his grandma in a trailer near the creek. His father is intermittently around between working odd jobs, occasionally getting in trouble, being imprisoned. He's in and out. He's not really a stable influence. But his two best friends are a spider and a praying mantis that he has met, who have shown up in his life. And they give him good advice. They help him with the bullies. They gain his trust. But the problem is that those two creatures are actually creatures from another world, essentially the fairy world. And that's just the form that they've taken to appear to him. And they are actually working at cross purposes to each other. They're antagonists to each other, but they both need him for their plots. So,
Mm.
so
This
that's
is rich.
Barry. Now, the neighborhood that he lives in, well, he doesn't really live in a neighborhood. It's off at the edge. There's not much there. It's kind of wilderness in the middle of the city. But it's right on the edge of what used to be a historic neighborhood called Goosetown. And Goosetown was destroyed in the 50s, I believe, to put a highway through. So there's only a few houses left, and like a bit of a street and a few houses, and then sort of wilderness. That's all that's left of Goosetown. So I don't know enough yet. I have to do a lot of research, but I want to have the history of Goosetown involved. There's going to be events that happened in the past in Goosetown that are the hidden causes of the things that are happening in the current story. And just a random thing that I came across reading about something else was the idea of a tally stick, which was a way of making a contract, of memorializing how much money was promised in a particular transaction by marking, in Roman numerals, I assume, marking the numbers on a stick and then splitting the stick in half. And then so each person got a half. So you couldn't change your half without messing up. It had to match up. That's how they knew. Both sides knew that they were going to be paying the agreed upon price whenever it came around. So I want that to be something that happens in the fairyland, where he has to make an agreement with somebody, and that's how it gets marked.
Nice.
So that's what and his experiences in the other world will give him the tools to solve his problems in the regular world. That's like the end point.
Yeah. Oh, how wonderful.
And when can we read this book?
Yeah.
Well, I have one scene written, so it's going to be
Okay. Fair enough. Okay, so my first question is, at this point, Mom is the Zettelcat, because we don't know. Is she dead? Is she alive? Is she real? Is she not real? So that's a piece, and potentially Dad too. Like, I don't know how you want to play it, but that is certainly a piece that you could play with her as she's actually alive. You could play with her as she's some kind of a ghost, but an apparition. Or perhaps she's over in the fairy realm somehow. Like, you got a million possibilities there, because she's the X card at this point. But then you can do the same thing with the spider and the mantis, depending, like, is Mom one of them? We don't know. Or is she influencing one of them? Or if you don't want Mom to be a force in the story, who's influencing Spider and Mantis? And are they actually, like, in conflict? Or is there something else that's governing the fact that they need to appear in conflict? Like, these are all the questions that you can game out and unpack for the reader, because I mean, the bones are so rich, you could go all kinds of different directions. So I want to throw in, one of the cool things about applying superposition to a story is all of the options exist out there, and you only have to make one choice, and suddenly options start disappearing. So like, if Mom's actually alive, the apparition options are off the table. So as you say, lay out note cards, or you lay out a timeline, you can literally this or that, each decision that you make, whether it's about the state of the town, the state of the character, how you're going to move them forward. you could, I mean, there's a million different possibilities that you can pick apart. So I love the idea, and I don't know if you intended this, but this is certainly a motif or a symbol that you could pull through and perhaps even develop into a theme, depending on what you want the books to do. The idea of the highway divides the town and leads to its demise, and a key symbol or object is the tally stick, which gets divided and binds the contract.
Good catch. Yeah, I hadn't
So
not made that
yeah,
connection.
just laying them out together at a high level when you've got, when you've got your creative hat on, lay those bits out and start to look for those little congruities, because you'll find them if you look for them. And then it's like, ooh, now I've got an overarching theme and a manifestation of it in the tally stick. So nice work.
Yeah.
All right, now the wheels are really spinning.
Okay, so as the writer now, I'm just curious, have you done like any in-depth character development, like for Barry and the family? Like, is family a theme, or is this more, I totally love the historical elements of the town, but I'm just curious, for his character development, do you have a sense of he's going to go through the story, have his challenges, gather his tools, and come out the victor? Is that kind of what you're thinking?
I think, yeah, he will come out the victor, at least in some way. Maybe I'm not sure yet if he's going to actually accomplish what he sets out to do, but he's going to grow and he's going to gain tools that will be useful to him. Yeah.
Awesome. Does he, and this, you don't have to answer this is just a question. If he goes on a dual quest, okay, so keeping with this sense of this theme of division, if he goes on that kind of quest, then you potentially have some kind of resolution in both worlds. So that's another way of playing with your duality, is you've got two parallel worlds that he has, is somehow interacting with, and either bringing them together or sending them further apart. That's another cool way to experiment.
True. Yes.
Now go write the book.
Yeah.
Nice. Very nice. I love it when a plan comes through. All right.
Okay. Well, surprise, surprise, we're back in Roanoke.
Yay.
So I have a character, the beginning of a character card, and then 3 different scenario cards that do not necessarily all of which apply to this character, but the character is Penny Beatty, who is the pretty daughter and eldest of 3 children of Brenda and Howie Beatty. So in another story that I read I don't think I read it here, but part of the Roanoke story, I mentioned them, Brenda and Howie Beatty, as best mates of Jenna's parents. Jenna is kind of my protagonist. And so Penny Beatty is seemingly superficial and vain. There's another scene where we see her demonstrating that I've read in fusion writing. And in the course of this exercise, Penny Beatty is one of the people at this timeless way of build up, where they've all gone off link. She's one of the people who is going to struggle with being off link for an entire day. There will be many such people because if we think about how people are with social media and phones and everything, these people in this world are not magically immune.
Mm.
And I have a long-term thread that I used this exercise to start trying to explore further. And the long-term thread is that Jenna, who's really brilliant at using her link, has gone through this. She has, at an earlier stage in her life, been addicted to it. And so she is a recovering link addict in a way. And Penny might seek some advice from Jenna because, that is known about Jenna, that she went off the deep end with that for a while. So I've got just 3 cards that I created. I created a bunch of notes of other things that could happen, but for the purpose of this, 3 cards, and they're just kind of different strategies for dealing with this that Jenna might be aware of and might offer to somebody, depending on how much they're jonesing and what she thinks that they'll be able to handle. All right. So one of them is a counter tactic that Jenna borrowed from an experience with Penny when they were younger. When Jenna herself was learning to wean herself off constant linking. And she refers to it as needle mouth.
Needle mouth.
A depiction of a hungry ghost that came to mind at a slumber party when Penny wondered aloud why she was stuffing herself with sweets that were making her feel sick.
Oh.
So hungry ghost is a term from ancient East Asian religions. And needle mouth is one of the depictions of a hungry ghost, and that is a being, a hell realm being. Basically, the hungry ghost can never be satisfied.
Mm.
And having a just cavernously huge belly and a tiny needle mouth and skeletal being. So it's impossible to feed that huge belly. So needle mouth. That's one. A second one is called dopamine. And it's a link app that teaches you to recognize and wean yourself off of dopamine microdosing, including that which comes with certain link excesses. And then the third one is a wholesome diversion tactic for people at the buildup who are antsy about being off link. At the buildup, as I talked about in previous episodes, there's this ceremony that they build the Lukasa of the timeless way of building, and part of what happens in that ceremony is Chris invites Sky and Kevin to recall a place. It's a natural place with human touch where that just made them feel wonderful. And they talk about a stone bench. And everybody else is invited. Okay, now you get what they're talking about. Put that sort of sense in your mind of a place you know, right? So the wholesome diversion tactic, while we're here and we're off link, when you get chances to learn from others what places they called to mind that gave that feeling, and share your own. Make plans to go to some of them.
Oh.
Oh, bravo.
So what I did, I'm kind of on the Kathleen side of things, of not digging into what you meant by all the physics terms. I'm kind of on the Kathleen side of things because I never took physics. So I looked at those terms and I thought, She will guide us what we're supposed to do with this.
No, perfect. And it's really, it's just the encapsulation of when you're in the early stages, which, you know, your story is extremely developed and you've got very well-grounded characters, but even still, you know, when you're looking at how do I take this new character and blend them in and what do I want that to look like, you have every possibility because you have a stable story, pretty much, you know where it is, you know, you're in the moment, in the scene, but then you're going to introduce something that they have to come out on the other side of. That's really all it is. It's just the idea that, you know, you have a thing and you have to introduce something that gets you some directions to get you on down the road of the story. So personally, I love the third one because the first one feels, it feels like there's a place for it, but maybe not exactly right here with Penny. The third one, because it's memory dependent, and again, I'm trying to not know what I know about the story, but calling people, given the thing that they're struggling with, calling them back to a place of touch and sharing that, as a reader, that just gets me right in the heart, because that's who our people are in that world. So that's my favorite one. And then the second one, I see a place for that too. I'm just not sure where. I would have to go through and do the exercise and introduce all the chaos and figure out where it comes out the best.
Yeah.
But I love the third one.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I would tend to agree. I think that some of the other two are a bit more like bigger guns.
Yeah.
When the first one doesn't work, and you know, start with diverting your attention towards something wholesome.
Yeah.
And they've already experienced many things that are wholesome. So keep pointing that direction, and that will work for some people. For Penny Beatty, I don't know that it will.
Yeah.
But it might
Plot
work.
twist.
She's got so an interesting part of this. I know you're going to get to as the author, all right? Penny Beatty is going to, at least at first, come across like the stereotypical high school mean girl.
Yeah.
Right? Not necessarily mean, but into herself, transactional in all her relationships. And as an author, I have to dig deep into what drives such people that I'm not judging.
Right.
And that's going to be good for me because I do judge that kind of character. That I do. It's kind of a, you know.
Yeah.
It's a mental foil
I'm so glad
for me.
you said that.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm so glad you said that because seriously, like guys watching, we don't plan this. This just unfolds how it unfolds. But that is exactly the last thing that is on my list, which is when you introduce these things, when you introduce the variations that allow you to see, okay, if I do this, this person's going to react this way. That's not what I want. Okay, if I do this, what if they react this way? Okay, that's closer, right? You're toggling those pieces around to see if they fit, much like we do with the character traits. Well, as the author, it takes work to separate, number one, the axes that you have to grind. Number two, the causes that you want to champion. Number three, the things that you want to teach your dear reader. I mean, the list is really long of everything that you bring to it. But you know that you're getting to the best material, to the best story, when you do exactly what you just did, which is say, ooh, I'm kind of judgmental of this, or I don't even want to go to that. And then you're like, okay, that's the chaos in the middle. That's what you're introducing is, okay, if I'm going to write this character that has this thing, the chaos in the middle is me, and I have to get out of my own way. And that's when the creativity can be really fun, because then you say, okay, I am violently opposed to super selfish people, and I have a major problem with that. So I'm going to write this super selfish person, but I'm going to do it with empathy, and I'm going to make the reader love them, and I'm going to make the reader root for them. I'm going to hate it the whole time. But if I can accomplish that, then I've grown my skills beyond what my writerly limitations are. And that's another piece that's just, there's such value in, how can I push myself today? How can I do that on the page? How can I push my character? That's the whole reason of taking off that writerly hat and just allowing yourself to experiment with the crazy stuff in the middle and just keep throwing it at them, because you throw it at the character and then you have to write them out of it. So it works both ways. But fantastic. Yeah.
And if I can insert a little piece of advice, because we are talking about character traits here. The character traits, you're going to want to take a look at meekness and modesty, because they're very, very relevant for this kind of a character. The character needs attention. Why? Why does that character need attention? And why is their focus so inward? So they're very tightly related, and they're very, very tightly related to the character trait of circumspection. If without a solid grounding in circumspection, it's very hard to have meekness or modesty. So that's where you're going to look for the backstory, is what happened to circumspection? And well, where does circumspection come from? Love and hope. So what was damaged for this character, love or hope? And an interesting factor that comes up with hope is that when psychologists research adverse childhood experiences, even if the childhood experience is a flood or a natural disaster and the family was all close and present, that character can have problems with motivation. Well, now you're going in a different direction. You're going in the direction of perseverance. But if anything that damages hope can also, if it happens young enough, can damage circumspection. Older in life, it'll damage motivation.
All right. Wow.
And that beautifully explains why she's gone digital. She's gone to some other interactions and things that aren't as grounded, which is another reason why I love the stone bench. Touch something real. That's like, woo, good stuff there. Super good stuff there. Okay, mine is super simple. In my novel, I've been struggling a little. I only have about 2 brain cells to think about it sometimes, but with my main character's best friend. And this came out of our character trait experience challenge, which is currently going on by one Miss Kathleen Spracklin over in LiLLiPub.org. On the 15th, just a few days ago, I am training a new person in a job, and this person actually has more experience at some of these things than I do. So I'm really leaning into the process of learning some things from her, because she comes from a totally different world. And that got me thinking about how a character who is what I consider down class or down power from another character, how can that character then turn around and teach the teacher something? And it gave me a fresh perspective of my main character kind of looks down, her doting assistant that loves her and takes care of her. What if he turns around and teaches her something very valuable? And I don't know what that's going to look like yet. I need to do the gaming out of it and kind of plant that seed so that I can have the thread up early and pull it through the story. But it was my docility card that got me thinking, hey, wait a minute, maybe that's the power shift that I've been looking for, and I wasn't really sure how to do it. So in much the same way that when we were talking with Mel, I solved the problem of the twist is not technological, it's something very analog. This one gave me what I needed to think it's a teaching change that's going to shift their dynamic, not something tangible. So mine, I still have to do the work, but at least I know how I'm going to get there. I'm going to use Schrödinger's Zettelcat to get there. Okay, so Kathleen, one more time, if anybody wants to join us and get in on the fun, because we've still got, 12 days or so left for our January Character Trait Experience Challenge, where would they find us?
Come on over to LiLLiPub. LiLLiPub is where we hang out when we are not here in YouTube land. And LiLLiPub is your incredible author, writer, researcher, copywriter, memoir writer, Deb, place to come and hang out and try out all of these ideas of writing. $8 a month. Can you believe it? And here we all are. This is where we hang out. So you'll find us there, and the price is beyond belief. The value is insane. So come on over to LiLLiPub.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys for playing. It was certainly fun for me.
Me too.
Yeah.
And we'll see you next time.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.